Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to watch. My name's Dan Udy, and I'm going to be talking a little bit today about a book that my wife and I are reading together called Fit for Life by a gentleman named Harvey Diamond. If you're not familiar with this book and you're even the least bit interested in health, or at least avoiding disease and living a healthier lifestyle, and you're open-minded to the idea of I was going to say raw foods, but really just less animal products, then I highly recommend this book. As you guys probably know, I am experimenting with a raw vegan diet for the next few years, and I'm closing in on about 300 days in a row of nothing but raw fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, sprouted beans, and lentils. And the first 100 days I did nothing but juice, so I did a 100-day juice fast. But one of the gentlemen that I really enjoy listening to and watching on YouTube is named Chris Kendall. And I can't remember what his channel is called, but he is awesome. He recommended this book. Actually, I don't even think he recommended it. I was watching one of his videos, and he talked about how this book was one of the first books that ever opened up his mind to the idea of living a different style. And so this book is really, and Harvey Diamond is really, I think they call it natural hygiene, which I had heard the term a lot prior to reading the book, but I wasn't really 100% familiar with the concepts or philosophies of natural hygiene until I started reading this book. And again, I thought because Chris Kendall recommended it or talked about reading it, that it would be a raw food book, and it's really not. And I haven't read a whole lot of raw food books. But then I thought for sure if it's not about raw food, that it would be about veganism. And again, I was wrong. I guess there's a lot of paths that end up leading to where I'm at in life, and Chris was just on a different path, and that's perfectly fine. So it helped me a lot familiarize myself with natural hygiene. And with a title like Fit for Life, and coming from someone like Chris, who I just completely respect and admire and look up to in what he's been able to help, what he's created and how many people he's been able to help, I figured that the book would be a lot more centered around health and not to say it's not, but the first part of the book I absolutely loved. Harvey Diamond, and spoiler alert, he's dead. I didn't find that out until the very end. Talks about how he's dead, so sorry. Again, spoiler alert. But he died, let's see, back in... let's see where it says. I can't remember. Anyway, he's passed away for quite some time now, I believe. But in either case, it tells his story. His return to health, like what he was like, his life prior to... being introduced to natural hygiene, and then what his transformation, which is nothing short of miraculous. It was incredible. The whole book, which of course I bought this used, that's why you can see the library. I did not steal it from a library. Don't go flagging this video for, Dan's a thief. But I bought it used. It's a couple bucks. It was worth, the first chapter was worth the entire investment or cost of this book, because he talks all about his own story, and you guys know, or maybe you don't, I'm a sucker for a story. I love to hear a personal story, and that's what he shared, was his personal, story. I can't remember what it's called, testimony, his personal testimony. And it was intense, and it was powerful, and it made a believer out of me. But the concepts that are in natural hygiene, if you're not familiar with them, are things that I didn't even realize that I already held deeply. They just resonate within me deeply. And I've heard little bits and pieces throughout my life, and every time I think I was familiarized with some of it, I would immediately go, I believe that. That resonates as true with me more so than getting put on a prescription drug for the rest of your life to treat a symptom of something that they quote-unquote don't know what caused it. The book flies in the face of traditional mainstream medicine, which I really love. I don't know, not to say I love mainstream medicine. I really love the fact that this book really did rock the boat of that. So again, Angela and I are reading this together. We're about this far, but she went on a spiritual retreat with some lady friends. So I accidentally read the rest of it. She doesn't even know. Fortunately, I think for me, I don't believe she watches my content, so she won't find out. I'm still reading it with her. I read out loud, and she enjoys listening to me, I think, or at least pretends to. Just read a couple few pages every night. I will say the first good portion of this book is about disease, and I think that's making Angela a bit uncomfortable. It would make anybody uncomfortable. I mean, it talks about cancer a lot. It talks about the numbers, statistical data, real live data of people that, I mean, just stories and just data of disease and the rise of it over the last 50, 60 years, and the war on cancer and the war on disease, and how just futile our efforts are, and how wrong mainstream approach to fighting this has been and trying to find a cure for it, when in reality the cure is really in the prevention of it by the lifestyle choices that we have. So again, he builds the first part of the book, that I would think the majority of the book, but I could be wrong. Part 2 is when he gets into the actual, like, I'll call it the solution part of the book, which is really, really good. Chapter 4, he talks about the 7 stages of disease. I'll just ruin it. The last stage is cancer, where he calls that where the cells go crazy in the body. Again, very, very compelling information, how well he lays it out there, and again, all the information he uses to build the case. So yeah, part 2 doesn't start for page 222, which is, yeah, so I'm right. It's over half of the book. This whole part here, looks like about 2/3 of the book ish is about basically the problem. And again, not my favorite thing to focus on the problem, but it does make the solution that much more refreshing and enjoyable. So he talks again in great detail about all the problem, disease, the way we live our lives, and how that leads to disease. And then mostly just paints the picture of, but don't worry, this whole book is about prevention. And I'm thinking, no, the vast majority of this book is about the problem, Harvey, but you're dead. So anyway, to get into the solution, which is really where the whole book wants you to end up anyways, it was very, very cool, but it was also surprising. So the first chapter is on what he calls, or the first chapter of the solution in part 2 was about what he refers to as period. I can't even say that word. Periodic. Okay, periodic monodieting, and basically what it is, my translation is fasting. So my definition again of fasting is to go without. So you can fast, like the most extreme would be like a dry fast. I've never tried it, probably never will, but it's where you forego everything, including water. Then you have water fasting, one step up. Also can be quite dangerous. I've only done a couple days of water fasting in my life, and if I ever do more than that, I'm sure it'll probably be a very monitored type situation, or at least have like a coach. And anyway, then you go, I would think, to like juice fasting, which is what I did do, 100 days, very safe, very, very effective. Some people think it's horrible for you, whatever. To me, again, I think I've said this before on the channel, but to me, the only people that criticize juice fasting or find a lot of fault with it are people that have never done it long term, or haven't yet done a long sustained juice fast. Every person that I know that's done a long juice fast sings the praises. Even if there wasn't any physical benefits of it, which I think you'd be silly not to, or to deny that there are massive physical benefits that more than likely will occur with a long-term juice fast. The spiritual benefits, for me, far outweigh any cost incurred along the way, including financial. So, or even if I, quote unquote, ruined my gut health, which obviously you can build back, and I'm in the process of doing so now. But, periodic monodiet, he talks about doing like a lot. Basically, try out a raw food. He doesn't call it raw food diet or living food diet or sun-fired food diet, but he talks about eating fruit and, only eating fruit and fruit juices for a period of time, 1 or 2 days, 3 days, 7 days. He talks about the benefits of, implementing that type of fast or periodic mono diet. He even goes as far as to say, go a certain number of days without cooked food, which is basically what I'm doing, like long-term sustained, and I had a comment the other day from somebody who obviously didn't watch the video that they were commenting on, but just said something to the effect of, raw vegan is dangerous and it's a big no-no, and don't do raw vegan because that's what turns people into ex-vegans, which is ironic because for me, my path, and I know everybody's path is different, but for me, I was mostly plant-based for several years before I got turned on to the idea of raw food. Through juice fasting, I got brought to this new world of maybe trying to live off of just raw, undenatured, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and sprouted beans and lentils, and giving that a shot. But it was after that I really started to learn about and incorporate the ethical vegan, which any vegan really is an ethical case, but I think the term now is so often we throw the term vegan around, meaning diet, when in reality, a vegan or a vegan lifestyle is an ethical life, And so now I like to consider myself as a ethical raw vegan, and vegan for the animals, but raw vegan for my health. Anyway, I say all that to say that's the first part of this book. He talks in great detail about, what he refers to as periodic monodieting. Really cool, very good insights on fasting. A lot of data he's collected along the way. The second part he talks about is gradual move away from animal products. And this is the part that I did not like about the book. And again, it's just because I'm a black and white thinker. I'm like all or none. I'm either going to have animal products or I'm not. To me, there's no gradual shift. That's just silly. Like, why would I gradually shift when I can just shift it all at once? And I'm starting to realize, finally, I'm 41 years old, I'm starting to finally realize that most people aren't like me in that regard. Most people, I think, from what I can tell, would prefer a gradual move toward less animal products. I just know for me, that's harder than just a quick shift over to, okay, no more animal products. Black and white, I don't have animal products ever, period, no exceptions. But anyway, regardless of how I feel, the chapter is good, and it brings a lot of light to the whole concept of moving away from animal products and what they're doing in the body. And he doesn't talk about ethics, which whatever, a lot of people that are, into the plant-based or vegan diet side of the vegan lifestyle, they're not so much concerned about ethics. And to be quite honest, I didn't think I was either. For many, many, many years, I ate plant-based, not because I cared about the animals, but because I cared about my health. And I knew that it was better, it was a healthier way to eat for me than what I had been doing prior to. And then, once you see some of the actual content, and nobody wants to see that stuff. I've never heard of anybody that watches like Earthlings or Dominion. Highly recommend watching Earthlings, Dominion, Land of Hope and Glory. I don't know anybody that can watch that and go, oh yeah, that was good. It didn't bother me at all. Like, it's highly disturbing. But to me, it's very important to subject myself to the pain that I had to endure from watching that, because it transformed my whole philosophy about life and what I'm willing to tolerate and what I'm not willing to tolerate. And I think that, it's healthy to learn the truth about where the products that we are buying and funding are coming from. So anyway, again, slow move away from animal products. I don't agree with that necessarily being slow. I think it's easier, for me it was anyway, to just make it, watch Earthlings. That'll make it really easy to move away from animal products, in my opinion, in my not so humble opinion. And then lastly, he talks about exercise in there somewhere. And I'm not sure, it doesn't have its own part necessarily, but he does talk in great detail about exercising. I do really like his approach about exercising, because even though I work out very, very often, I weight train every other day, heavy. I'm really sore right now. I did squats, heavy yesterday. I did bench press. I did rows. I did curls, tricep pull down, sit-ups. And I work out a lot. And I do yoga every single day, and I walk in nature every single day. He talks about like entry level stuff like walking, like just go outside and walk in nature, walk, and he talks about like the basics of moving your body. He doesn't talk about yoga, which kind of broke my heart, but I think that's only because he didn't know about yoga. Had he known about yoga, he probably would have been all about some yoga. He had a yoga vibe. Okay. He kind of like, to me, he was like a closet yogi. He just didn't know he was a yogi, but he's a freaking yogi master. So he talks about that, but then he also talks about the mind matters. He talks about the mind and body connection. He talks about the placebo effect. I mean, he just goes into great detail about the power of a positive attitude, and he has a bunch of really powerful quotes. And overall, on a 1 to 10, this book gets a 9.5. Okay. So again, if you're the least bit interested in health, your body, avoiding disease, avoiding cancer, preventing cancer, even curing cancer, there's a lot of great, and he's very careful. He's like, look, I can't say that I'm, curing cancer. He has all the right word, but he does share tests. He shares stories. He's like, that's legal. I can talk about, he can put a story in there, and he does. And he shares these stories that quite honestly are emotional. They get you, they draw on the emotion, because I think every single one of us knows somebody who's either died from cancer or knows somebody who's died. We've all been affected from that disease. And so he speaks to it with really good clarity, insight, and wisdom. So I think if you haven't read this book, Fit for Life, Harvey Diamond, it is amazing. I'm actually really excited that I've already finished the book and that I'm getting to go through it again. Because I believe, it's one thing to listen to a book on Audible, and I have Audible, and I love listening to books on Audible. I do it almost every day, and some of I love to just listen to over and over and over again. But it's a different way to absorb content than actually reading it. Reading it, I get it in one way, and then to listen to it is different. And then when I read it out loud, like I'm doing with my wife, it's like a whole nother level. So again, highly recommend the book. Get the book, read the book. And if you don't have a daily reading habit or a daily yoga habit or a daily eating something raw vegan habit, then by all means, I would encourage you to read Atomic Habits. And that will help you to establish some habits in your life. But so the next video I think we're going to do is going to be me sharing my delicious smoky chipotle ranch dressing. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel to catch that, you're going to want to do that now. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, put, Dan, great video, but I prefer the cooking videos. Put something positive, because I'm really sensitive, and the negative comments are kind of, they put me in a bad mood. Matter of fact, I've had to be careful with what I post on Facebook, because I was posting some pretty, what's the word? Well, some upsetting posts, I guess, vegan propaganda posts on my Facebook. And man, people get triggered, and it's very interesting, but it can also be kind of hurtful, because people that, some of them I don't even know, a lot of them I don't even know, but some of the people that I know, maybe some people I serve with in the Navy and otherwise, they don't understand where I'm coming from or why, and they get triggered by these posts, and they put these nasty, hurtful things on there about me. And it's weird, because I'm thinking if they were doing a carnivore diet, okay, and I don't necessarily agree with that at all. Matter of fact, I find that, highly disturbing. Somebody that's like, I'm just a carnivore, I'm eating just dead animal flesh or meat. you know, whatever. But I would, the last thing I would ever do is like go on their Facebook and be like, and put a bunch of, stuff on there. So I just don't understand why people can't rally behind, which I say I don't understand. I understand why. And I definitely feel like it's them projecting their own stuff. So I try not to take it personal, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit sensitive. I'd be lying if I said I didn't care and value what your opinion of me is. So hopefully you have a good one. If not, you don't have to let me know. My wife said it perfectly today. She said, it's not an airport. These people do not need to announce their departure. And I thought, good point. So thanks for watching. Thumbs up. Leave a comment below. Something positive or encouraging, please. Or just like my mom used to say, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, then just please don't say nothing at all. And then subscribe to the channel. Ring the notification bell so you get notified every time I publish new content. And thanks for watching.